Thank you for tuning into the Generational Gauntlet Top 5 Faves. This is the podcast where we give you our top 5 on a topic with a generational twist to it. My name's Matt Lambert, and I'm the host of this podcast. Each week, I bring in a guest who's from a different generation than me to discuss or debate our top 5 on a selected topic. Today is one of those episodes where I'm breaking my own rules, as I'm super excited to bring in a fellow millennial. Let me give some context. When I started this podcast, I had a number of goals that I was hoping to accomplish. One of my goals was to use this podcast to either help small businesses I support, or more importantly, get the word out for organizations who are doing great things. Today, I get to do just that. Both of our dogs are rescues, and we love being able to connect with organizations that are doing an amazing job of saving and rescuing homeless animals. My guest today is Danielle Zuck, a fellow millennial, a friend of the family, and one of the most compassionate people I know when it comes to rescuing animals. Danielle is the owner of Journey Home Rescue Alliance. Danielle, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you on here. Can you talk a little bit about what it is that your organization does?
Yeah, hey, good to connect. Good to have, thank you for having us on. And I say us because I got some puppies with me. Um, but and sorry if there's dogs barking in the background, but that is normally our day-to-day here.
Totally fine.
Yeah, so I'm happy to jump in. Just remind me the question. It's been a day helping puppies.
You're good. So, what is it like in the grand scheme of things? What does your organization do?
Yeah, thank you for asking. We essentially started in 2023 realizing that animals needed to be helped in greater numbers than what the current system is supporting. And so we, in a very short way, we bridge the gap between shelters and rescues. So we fight for those that are going to be euthanized daily in our rural shelters across South Carolina, sometimes in Georgia. And we advocate for them, we network for them, and we try to get them to move out of state. Every month, we probably save about 100 dogs, if not more, that are all facing euthanasia from puppies to seniors.
That's awesome. And
Thank
you all
you.
are a 501c3 organization, correct?
Yes, sir. We want to be very much by the book. We believe in full transparency. We thrive on donations. We are fully volunteer. Our entire little network is all volunteers, from drivers to fosters to myself. We are all dedicated to the mission, and so we are approved by the IRS and the state, and we have a tax financial human, God bless them, that does all of the things I don't understand. Yes, we like to very much believe in full transparency and do good with the donor money.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what I hear you saying, everybody that's doing this is volunteering their own time in addition to whatever jobs they have outside of this, correct?
Oh, yes, sir. So we have people who will leave work and go pick up dogs to, all of us are sneaking text messages and messages throughout the day while we are supposed to be working. Hopefully no one's listening. Um, but yeah, no, someone asked me this morning how much of my day to day is journey home, and I would probably say 158%. It is nonstop for our little engine that could.
And I believe you've even, like, you're running a lot of this out of your own home, correct?
Luckily we're foster based. And so really
Yeah.
what our mission is to connect those shelters. It's almost like matchmaking. So when a shelter partner or rescue partner in the north says, um, hey, we want that dog, right? Because we've networked it or whatever. They may be only looking for breed specific. Maybe it's a rattie or a hound. Other cases, they just see really good dogs or puppies, and they're like, oh, we can take those. So we matchmake a lot of the time. A lot of rescues work with individual shelters. They have
Hmm.
individual relationships, but we are spread across the 46 to say, hey, which ones can we save today? And
Yeah.
so, but the hope is we actually send them from shelter on transport, a paid transport, very, legit by the book. We coordinate, we have 5 drivers that we know of that leave every Friday out of South Carolina, all the things. Point being, they go north, whether that's from North Carolina to Maine every Friday. And then we will help in-state rescues. But essentially, The good news is I do not have 1,400 dogs in my home right now, but we are foster-based too, so we do when we cannot figure out the jigsaw puzzle, we do need to get them here in Charleston. You know this, your wife saw one of my posts, y'all did this,
Hmm.
you foster them, and then they get to go on their journey, whenever that timeline is that we need them to be fostered till.
Yeah, as Danielle's saying, we've been able to be part of that journey before, and just the way it's run is phenomenal. You're getting to be a big piece in helping save a dog's life, and Danielle does an excellent job of keeping you in the loop as to what's going on, getting you the things that you need. So I know you do an excellent job with that. And just to clarify, I think you already mentioned it, but obviously these dogs are going well beyond South Carolina. You said all the way up to Maine, correct?
Yes. So we have shelter partners that go, that pull from Rhode Island. We've only sent one to Maine, but we
Okay.
can. But, when we look at the geographic map, we've sent them to Oregon. We have sent them to Chicago. We sent them to Tennessee. Actually, one's leaving tomorrow for Tennessee. So we have flown south. We just try to fly north or drive north
Hmm.
because the south, unfortunately, is just a little bit different with ordinances and rules, and dogs are property down here, and so there's
Yeah.
just more down here. So my philosophy is get them in, get them out, like, in a good way, healthy way, loving way,
Yeah.
and send them north.
Understood. And you own dogs yourself too, correct?
I have 4 knuckleheads that I would, quite literally, never live without.
I love hearing you say that. We're a big dog family too. I have a couple less dogs than Danielle. We've got two, but like I mentioned, we've been able to foster with you before. Both of our dogs were adopted, one from the Charleston Animal Society down here, and then one through a different rescue where they had went in and taken some hounds, and one of them was pregnant. So we actually adopted one of her puppies. Um, just being able to save dogs has been something that's been really cool for us. And today with Danielle, who I view as the ultimate dog lady, we have a
Thanks.
dog topic today. We're going to do the typical episode where each of us have our top five list, and then we're going to circle back to some more things on Danielle's organization on the back end. But today, Danielle and I are each going to say what is our top five dog breeds. If you are a new listener to this podcast, this is how the podcast works. We've each put together a list. I don't know anything on Danielle's list. I have zero clue. She doesn't know mine. She'll say what her number five is and why. I'll give my number five and why, and we'll take turns until we get to our number one. So, Danielle, with that in mind, I'm curious, what is your number five dog breed all time?
Pyrenees, a border collie mix, which is not a
Okay.
real breed, but it's my heart dog
All right. And why is it that?
because she's my heart dog. I got her 11 years ago, and it's changed my life.
Okay, awesome. My number five is Siberian Huskies. And when I think I was in kindergarten, my family got a reddish brown husky. My dad named him Red. Danielle, you're going to hear here today that my family is very lacking in creativity when it comes to animal names. Whatever the fur color was, that was pretty much going to be your name. Later on, we had a second husky. Her name was Sandy because, as you probably guessed, her color was like a sandy brown. That was the first dog that ever belonged to me was Sandy. Uh, for those that know Huskies, they're a little wild. They got a lot of that wolf in them. Our dogs, when it would snow, they wanted to just live outside in the snow. I know in some cultures they have Huskies work as sled dogs. Huskies have been famous for their role in the 1925 Great Race of Mercy, in which they delivered an antitoxin to Nome, Alaska. And I think a lot of times people think of hero dogs as German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, Lassie. But for me, I think about these crazy dogs who gave me so many good memories growing up.
Yeah.
Danielle, I'll kick it to you. What's your number four breed and why?
Oh, I would go with I'm gonna go with Australian Shepherd and, Coonhound. Again, one of my dogs.
Okay.
Because in my world, we never have purebreds, and
Hmm.
I'm cool with it. In shelter world, you make well, purebreds do show up, but, at the same time, a good old shelter dog. We got her from Nashville. My husband and I went to a country concert, and we did not realize we were coming back, canceling everything, and coming back with a dog. But she is my emotional disaster. She doesn't know if she's hurting or hunting, and she makes my life so fun. She's 8 years old now, and she's got the meanest bark, out in public. She reminds me of me. And then inside, she's all under the blanket and, toasty. So, um, that's why I'm gonna challenge you. I'm not gonna have a necessary breed.
That's totally okay. You mentioned about a dog that kind of challenges you, and that's my number 4 breed, and that's Chihuahuas. And I get it. Chihuahuas are not the friendliest dogs to strangers a lot of times. I'm a millennial, and Danielle, I know you are too. Do you remember the Yokiro Taco Bell commercials?
Of course.
That's why I got a Chihuahua when I was in high school.
Oh,
Um,
Lord.
High school Matt Lambert saw the commercials and was like, I want a Chihuahua and I want to name it something intimidating. There was a guy, my Chihuahua was not a full breed Chihuahua. It was a guy that was selling them in our neighborhood. I named my Chihuahua Spike, and Spike was an evil genius. My wife can attest to this. He would climb on counters from chairs and grab stuff off the counters. He once ate an entire grilled steak that was the
Oh,
size of his body. He became an escape artist, and not because he wasn't well loved, but if he saw any way to get under a fence, he would. And he would go chase kids on their skateboard. He'd go like visit the neighbors and then come back. And he lived to be 17 years old. And in his last few years of life, he had a heart problem. And we had him on a ton of medications. And what would just drive us insane is this dog would sleep half the day. He would sometimes, unfortunately, faint from his heart condition, but he would escape from our fence and go run around with kids in a neighboring subdivision behind us. I would find him and he would run from me like it was a chase. And then
oh
he'd
my
get home and
gosh.
sleep for 5 hours. Madison also had a Chihuahua up until a couple years ago. Duke lived to be 15 years old. So when we first got married, we each had a Chihuahua, and that was our family. It was us and our 2 little Chihuahuas that we carried around that were kind of mean to people. They bossed us around at home, but because of just those were our dogs at the beginning of our marriage, Chihuahuas make number 4 for me.
Okay.
Danielle, I'm curious to hear your number 3.
Oh gosh. Well, I think my number 3 is a Labrador Retriever because I have a 13-year-old one at home. He is purebred. My husband did get him from a breeder. That was before we knew anything about anything, I'll tell you that much. Our world has shaken since we've come down here, but,
Yes.
he is the most loyal, loving, he is my soul dog. He is very much just every day just gives you that calm or that fun or just that extra that you needed just to, feel okay. So the most loyal companion you will ever have in your life. And, you know, he's definitely my number 3.
It's funny that you bring up the idea of like how your views have changed on dogs. That's the same for Madison and I. When we were both growing up, you had, purebred dogs or at least what you thought were. And then after we got married, the first dog we had after our Chihuahuas was a dog we rescued from a shelter. And we've always went the shelter route or a rescue route since, just because there's so many dogs that need a good home. With that being said, my number 3 is a specific breed, and that's boxers. At one point in high school, my parents had 4 dogs in our home. I had my Chihuahua, and my parents and my sister each had a boxer. Again, we were not creative with names. So my dad's boxer was named Tyson for Mike Tyson, and my sister's was Layla for Layla Ali. And Tyson was one of the best dogs I've ever been around in my life. That dog literally lived the boxer name. He loved to roughhouse and he would swat at you with the paws. If you weren't paying attention, he'd come and swat at you at the side of your head. And when my family would travel and I was home alone with all the dogs, that was my buddy. He'd cuddle up with me. My wife was a big fan of his when we got together. I- I've done a lot of work where I've been in and out of people's homes, and I've never met a boxer that I didn't like. They're always high on the energy, but they're total goofballs who just want to be loved on. And it's insane to me that boxers were originally bred from the Bullenbeiser. I'm probably mispronouncing that. It's in Germany. And That dog was used to hunt wild, large game like boar. So, for a shout out to my family dog, Tyson, for the fact that these dogs have always been so nice to me in my life, I put boxers at number three, and I'll kick it back to Danielle for her number two.
Yeah, Dyson. All right, my number 2 is anything puppy. I'm good.
Okay.
I know, I'm breaking the rules.
No, I
And
like it.
it's not my show, but anything puppy. Who doesn't love a good old puppy breath and all the things in between? They are just so fun. They are so much in need down here, believe it or not. There, unfortunately not enough laws to prevent some of this from
Hmm.
happening. But they are just so fun, so full of life. We have 2 in our rescue right now that are brothers and nobody wants to adopt, and they're growing up with us. They're like 5 months and they are the sweetest. And like, I just got them earlier today and they kissed my face so much. I was annoyed by it. I was like, oh my God, please stop. And then I realized, I'm like, what else brings you that much joy in that few like of a time span? And for it's the simplest thing, it's, dog is God spelled backwards. Done.
Hmm.
There's my number 2.
I love it. My number two, not as maybe the perception of soft and cuddly as a puppy. My number two is pit bulls. And for some people listening, they might be like, why in the world are pit bulls ranked so high? I think pit bulls have the worst publicity in the dog world. I know growing up in West Virginia, everything I heard about pit bulls, it was never good. It was, oh, there's a dog attack, or you heard about things like Michael Vick. And I know a lot of neighborhoods, even down here, have banned them. But I find pit bulls to be highly loyal. And unfortunately, many people have used that against the breed. I met a guy in college and he was raising and he was training pit bulls and trying to basically change that public perception of them, getting them to homes that he had done a background check on, making sure it was good people that were going to take care of these dogs, and trying to kind of train them up the right way from the beginning. I totally fell in love with this breed, even more so when I moved here. I'm going to be honest in saying I don't have a lot of stats to back this up. Danielle's much more knowledgeable than me. She can tell me if I'm wrong, but I know when I've went to shelters, there appears to be a lot of dogs that have at least pit bull in them down here. One of our rescues that we have right now, her name's Minnie. We adopted her in 2021. Minnie had been seized as part of an animal cruelty case. Now, Minnie has a lot of breeds in her, but her most predominant is pit bull or Staffordshire Terrier. And when we first got her, she was too scared to let us pet her over top of her head because of the things that have happened to her. This dog has turned into the most loyal, the sweetest, the friendliest, just happiest dog I've ever had in my life. My in laws, my parents can attest to that. They come over. Minnie wants to lay on top of you. She wants to kiss you 24/7. It's a dog that somebody would say is a mean breed. She lets me pick her up in my arms like a baby, all 50 pounds of her, and carry her through the house like she's a newborn. I used to run a lot back in the day. So I'm someone who's been bitten by dogs quite a few times. I don't take it personal. They see me as the prey drive gets going. I would say 90% of the dog bites I've had have been Jack Russell Terriers, Chihuahuas, small breed dogs. The only time I've been bitten by a pit bull was by a puppy. It was trying to play. So I think for the fact that these dogs are so sweet, Minnie is probably my favorite dog I've ever had in my life. And she's got a lot of pit bull in her. Pit bulls take number two for me. Danielle, I will hand it over to you to hear your number one.
Oh, geez, I wanted to hear yours first. Obviously, I've talked about Pyrenees, and they really have my heart, but I've already said it, so I'm not going to go backwards. And then, just honestly, my number one's the American shelter dog
Okay.
because it's funny. Right now, everyone's doing DNA tests, and all of our adopters are saying, like, oh, I didn't, I expected terrier or Stafford terrier or,
Hmm.
pit bull or which by the way, pit bull is a marketing coin term. It's not even an actual breed,
Okay.
and I only say that not against your story, but against all of these housing that are or breeds that are banned for housing. And don't get me started on that whole topic, but the American shelter dog, I would say, is my most near and dear because you never know what you're going to get, but they will come out loyal. They come out thankful. They come out. with such perseverance and the ability. It's just actually the most beautiful thing, I think, that they are just so versatile. And they're not like humans, right? Like, they could have a bad day, right? They got dumped at a shelter. The
Hmm.
next day, they are full of love. And we have a lot of adopters doing DNA tests. And lately, back to my point, they'll say, "Wow, we didn't know Chow Chow was in it." I'm like, "Exactly, not a normal breed you see, and they're sassier, but we love them." Um, but I would just say, like, you never know what you're going to get. Like, it's not about being, rescuing them. They really rescue you.
Hmm.
And I think that that's more people need to open their home and their hearts and also their minds to the fact that it's no longer dogs in the pound and dogs that are less desirable. I walked the floor of a local shelter yesterday. There's one that's deaf, one that's blind. There's puppies, there's short dogs, there's small dogs. Like, this is the new way of the world. So I'm going with every dog in the shelter is my most favorite dog.
It's funny that you say that. I have a similar number one. I don't say specifically dogs in shelter. I go mixed breed dogs, like the dogs that we don't know what they are. I've already mentioned it. Minnie, when we did her DNA test, I think like 8 different breeds popped up in that dog. Our other rescue is a hound mix. She had, I think, like a few different types of hound in her when we did the DNA testing. The last 3 dogs that my family has went and brought into our home have been shelter dogs, and all of them had various breeds in them. You already hit it, Danielle. I think these dogs have the best dispositions. And while a breeder or, you know, the dog shows, all that, they might not be like, "Oh, that's a special dog." I think they bring the best qualities of all of the breeds they have inside of them. And I'm gonna throw my wife some props because it reminds me of something my wife once did or said. So Madison was a teacher back in the day. She was in a job interview, and the last question they asked her, "If you were a dog breed, what dog breed would you be and why?" And Madison's answer off the top of her head was something to the effect of, "I would be a mixed breed dog because I don't look like much, but I bring all the best qualities that the other dog breeds have." And
I
one, my
love
wife,
that.
it's a great answer, but she's a liar. And I'm going to say why she's a liar. She's a solid 100 on a scale of 1 to 10. I know I married up, and my wife needs to understand how awesome she is. But the answer was fantastic. And so for me, number one, it's not a designer breed. It's not what maybe we see on TV sometimes. Give me the dog from a shelter that's got 7 different types of dog breeds in them. And that's the dog I want to bring back to my house. So, Danielle, I think you and I basically wrapped up our number ones with the same number one, right?
Copycat.
I think this is the first time that's happened where the number ones have been the same. So this is a big day.
Woohoo!
Um, we've done the top 5 lists like we usually do, but I want to go back to the important work that you're doing. And I have some other questions for you, but before I ask, I want to give some stats for those that are listening. So I pulled up some 2024 data. And according to the data I found, there are approximately 70 million homeless dogs and cats in the United States.
Ugh.
Approximately 6.5 million animals enter a shelter each year, and only 4.2 million get adopted each year. That's a large number of animals that are not finding their way successfully out of the shelter. So, Danielle, you've hit it, I think already, but just to remind people, why is an organization like yours so needed when we hear stats like that?
Ugh, I'm sitting here depressed. Honestly, I would say that the organization, while we may be a local rescue, everyone knows that, rescue, you could adopt from a rescue or shelter, and they're in foster. So they're already one step closer to living in a home. The work that we actually do behind the scenes every day is our shelter systems are under resourced,
Mhm.
underfunded, and certainly understaffed. And these animals are they need a voice, and they don't have one in a rural shelter when there's 2 people doing the work they need to do, and or some shelters who are, they don't really care if they live or die. So at the end of the day, the work we do it's a churn and burn, but it's appropriate in the sense of we want them to live, and we are doing everything possible to filling the gaps so they do, because it's not always the right jigsaw puzzle. It's they need to leave the shelter that day, but the transport doesn't leave for a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's they just need a health certificate paid for. That most don't have vets on staff. Sometimes it's they just need more vaccines. We probably spent over $500 on a dog getting them ready to go north, and we don't get reimbursed for that, and
Hmm.
that's okay. That's what our model is. Like, we if a dog is going to be euthanized, a puppy, a senior, or whatever, because of something we can fix, we will fix it. And I think that's the message we want to get out. We've had a bunch of broken leg dogs, a bunch of dogs that need heartworm treatment. We're finding our way. By no means do we have, the model is perfect. But we're there in the trenches every day trying to make their journey possible.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, what led you to start this organization?
A lot of coffee and, honestly, I used to work at a shelter where, we would do transports north, every now and again whenever somebody could, whether it was a volunteer and or whether the receiving rescue could take, and it
Hmm.
just got me thinking, like, the linear path doesn't make sense when so many people are coming down to pick up dogs for other rescues or in the same state. Like, why are we not just putting it all together and sending and helping them? Because, rescues, they have a really hard job too. They have to when the dog gets off transport in the north, there's gonna always be something that pops up. But they might have a hot spot or this, or they have worms or whatever, all the common things that unfortunately couldn't get treated here or missed or whatever. And then the rescue has to put in resources to get them into foster and maybe get their medical treated and then get them adopted. So they have enough to worry about.
Hmm.
And so our goal is to make it easier for them. We'll handle the dog here. We'll get it all ready. We'll tie the bow. We'll get the medical. We'll get the health certificates. We'll make sure we comply with your regulations of the state and of course of your rescue. And then when they get to you, you do the work. But let us help you be boots on the ground.
Yeah, and I know from following you on social media, I know we're friends on Facebook. I see the posts that you're making. Uh, how are people able to find out information about what you need and what you're doing? Is social media the best way to see how things are going for you and what your biggest needs are?
Absolutely, just because that's obviously the day-to-day thing you
Hmm.
post. The website is great. Journeyhomerescuealliance.org. We finally just launched, but obviously day to day, again, Journey Home Rescue Alliance on Facebook or Instagram.
And I'm actually going to post the links for Danielle's sites, her website, the Facebook, Instagram, all that will be posted in this episode description when this releases. In terms of what your organization needs, is it really those financial donations are the biggest thing that people can do to help?
They are. Sorry, I had a puppy kissing me on my leg.
You're fine.
It's like a squirrel mentality for also humans. Yes, we monetary goes a long way because that helps us, because not all the time can we use our veterinarians that are local to us. We do have to pay premium price because it's last minute
Yeah.
or it's in an area. So oftentimes, we are paying whatever we need to, like in whatever area of the state. And so, yeah, monetary is always key. If not for transport, to pay a carrier fee, it pays for medical, it pays for supplies. Sometimes it pays for training consults, heartworm treatments, all the things. So monetary, amazing. But if you can't give and or you want to just buy an item on the Amazon wish list, that's amazing too. If you just want to share our posts, that's obviously an amazing way to help us as well.
Yeah. And I know we're at a time of year where a lot of people are looking to give to organizations. Some people, they're wrapped up in the holiday spirit. We're coming off the holidays, we're ending the year, and they're like, hey, how can I help? Some people are looking to help at the end of the tax season and make those charitable donations a little bit higher. How can people donate to your organizations? Where are places they can give those donations?
Um, our website, um, it's great. Obviously, for other organizations, websites too.
Hmm.
Um, at the end of the day, your local shelter needs you, and your local rescues need you. And obviously, do the research. Do make sure it's the right fit for you. But donations online is very possible for any organization, including ours.
And Danielle, before we wrap up today, is there anything else about your organization that you'd like to speak to or that you'd like people to know?
Gosh, I mean, we're only as good as the community that supports us. We're a little engine that could. We're volunteers. We're always looking for, help. We're certainly now looking for a board of directors.
Hmm.
There are so many ways that you can give it, and it doesn't require you to have to leave your office or your home or what. And it could be strategy. It could be a donation of resources of time, entering data, whatever it may be. Um, so in any event, I just want people to know that like, just try. Just if you want to give back, maybe it's social media, maybe it's, website, maybe it's creative, please reach out. We absolutely could use, and it does not that you do not need to be local in South Carolina with the way technology is. And then I think my last question is, what are you adopting from me? I mean,
I know we've got two right now, and I
I'll
will
call
say
your wife.
our Rose. It was she's quite the handful. There's been a lot of an adjustment period with her. You're familiar with hounds? They've got some. I don't know if quirks is the right word. There's definitely some things that you figure out when you bring a hound into the home. So
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
well, Danielle, as I mentioned, I'm going to have links for people to where they can find your information. For those listening, I want to say if you're looking for somewhere that you can donate to, somebody you can follow on social media, or an organization to get the word out for, Journey Home Rescue Alliance is definitely an excellent place. They are in fantastic hands with Danielle. If I'm sure you've been able to hear her passion for this type of work on this episode, but I've known Danielle for the last, I think, maybe 3 years, and I can vouch for that. I've seen it up close. She does
Thank you.
such an outstanding job. Danielle, I really appreciate you taking time out of your extremely busy schedule from being out on the ground and rescuing these animals. And also, just a thank you from my family and from the community for all the great things that you're doing. I really appreciate
Oh,
it.
well, thank you.
And for those listening, I appreciate you all checking us out. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, leave us a 5-star review, and let someone know to check the podcast out. I want this podcast to cover topics that interest you. If you have a top 5 list you'd like us to rank, I take suggestions at generationalfave5@gmail.com. That's generational, FAVE, the number 5 at gmail.com. Thank you all for tuning in.